Right. So welcome again. And I will just to give a quick introduction about yours. And I think most of you already know Youth for Road Safety is a global organization that works on meaningful youth participation through its advocacy, capacity building, and local projects. And with the foundation, we work quite heavily together on the global youth initiative. And today, Stefania, Sana, and Molly will give a little bit more insight into a couple of their tools and also their storytelling project. So with that, I will hand over to the ladies and let them introduce themselves and also their initiative. So Molly, over to you. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting us to speak to the CHI community of practice, the CHI family, if you will. Yours is really eager and interested to get to know all of the CHI grantees and members on a deeper level because we really see the connective threads. So this is sort of a taste of what we've been working on lately, and we hope it sparks something. If it does, get in touch. My name is Molly. I'm the Director of Projects and Partnerships with Youth for Road Safety, or yours, as we like to call it. I'll pass it over to Stefania.
Thank you so much, Molly. I'm Stefania Minniti, and I'm the Advocacy Director at yours. It's a pleasure to be with you all today and looking forward to strengthen our relationship and working together. I'll hand over to Sana to introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Steph. Hi, everyone. My name is Khasawneh. I am Jordanian, not based in beautiful Petra, but in another beautiful city in North Jordan called Irbid. And I work as advocacy and campaigns manager at yours. And we're very excited today to present part of our work to you. Thank you.
With that, shall we go ahead and get started? I'll turn it over to Stefania and Sana with the first presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Molly. Hello again, everyone. So today I'm pleased to present a project that we deliver with the FIA Foundation as advocacy partner. And we are happy to share that we have been reached more than 409 young leaders and students for this 3-year project. And the project aimed to contribute on building a movement of young people and advocated for youth leadership as facilitator or improving road safety policies worldwide. The story of this project began in 2021 when yours, FIA Foundation, and all other partners have been contributed to work and support WHO to the second decade of action in the global plan and make sure that young people are recognized as key stakeholders in this global plan. So we think that will be very much needed to have a project focused on global advocacy that contribute directly to the target 1 and 2 related to legal and policy framework. Basically, our vision for this project was to unlock the powers of young people to speak up about road safety challenge and provide innovative solutions to contribute to policy change, such as enforcement, speed management, safe school zone, pedestrian facility, and so on. Next, please. As you can say, our mission is always to demand deliver road safety. So this is why we want to make sure the linkage to the global level, global plan, and also grassroots level and policy change. Next, please, Molly. In this project and also at all different programs as yours, we have different pillars of work like advocacy, youth mobilization, and capacity development. As you can see, it's basically our way of working with the for young people to make sure that we can facilitate this intergenerational dialogue with decision makers and young people so they can influence policy agenda at local level, but also in worldwide conference. We have been working, next please, Molly, in a series of 8 advocacy tools with different partners that will be also working closely with us today. And I saw that some of you are here in the room, so happy that you can join efforts in that. And we think that through these different advocacy tools, we have been collected different evidence-based arguments and solutions that allow young people and also road safety practitioners in general to participate in different debates around SDGs, climate, youth, and health agenda. We think that working closely with young people to design and implement this project and the advocacy strategy is a must to ensure that we have sustainable action and grassroots policy change at local level, but we raise awareness and influence policy change at global level and conference as well. Next, please. The first toolkit that I'm going to introduce to you is the Policymakers Toolkit that we launched on 2022 during the high-level meeting on safety. This is a compilation of best practice for systematically integrating youth participation inside the policy cycle design. This means that you will find different tools that I will introduce later on that will support on how to create and support participatory mechanism body inside city level, national level, inside the Ministry of Transportation, Infrastructure, Interior, or also at city municipal level to make sure that young people can contribute to the policy discussion and also provide innovative ideas for policy change. This toolkit is available in English and in Spanish. And next slide, please. We know that it's a long journey to have meaningful youth participation because it's a process that takes time, commitment, investment, and also flexibility on the way of working with the for young people and the level of engagement that we young people would like to have. So what we are going to discuss and explain is the different level of engagement and start from the basics of forming and start to consult and having boundaries with the youth that are in your city level, in your community, and try to listen to them and create an action plan, establish this participatory mechanism body, and make sure that you can give and provide feedback and create together an action plan that will contribute to the policy discussion around the policy gaps that you may notify, for example, speed management, helmet usage, and so on. Next, please. So what you can find in the toolkit, it's basically different tools like a model for meaningful youth participation. This is based on your experience for all the work that we have been done in capacity building and also your academy and everything. Then a roadmap to develop meaningful youth engagement. This will be a step-by-step guide that will support you on see how you can engage and work with young people at a different level of the policy stage, let's say from the design, from the implementation, but also on the accountability part of the policy program or strategy related to road safety and sustainable community. And then you have a self-assessment scorecard. This is very useful because it's giving you like a diagnosis about how you think you are working with the for young people, which is the things that you should try to avoid or improve to make change happen and to contribute real with the policy change, but in a meaningful way with people. And to have also an action plan to improve the way of working with the for young people and achieve this policy change, you can use different case studies that will help you for sure to improve your action plan. We have been collected different lessons learned from this process on the production of the advocacy tools. Ones are for sure working on multi-stakeholder partners from the inception ideas and also to the co-creation of the content and also on the dissemination plan. But the most important is that these are youth-led publication because at yours we just define the step, the edition idea, and also the content based on the needs that the young leaders share with us, and they are contribute with their insights, their needs, but also their experience in each of these 8 advocacy tools. So I'm stopped there and I over to Sana that she will explain the series of policy brief, the other advocacy and campaigns tools, and the impact of that project. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sana.
Thank you so much, Steph. Now we can move to the next slide, Molly. So between 2022 and 2024, yours have identified young leaders with strong research skills and interest in sustainable development agenda. And with them, we have created a structure called SDG Champions. With the support of yours, we have developed a series of policy briefs on relevant SDGs to road safety. That includes SDG 3 on health and well-being, SDG 4 on quality education, and SDG 5 on gender equality, and SDG 10 on reduced inequalities, and SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities, and SDG 13 on climate action. Our main message behind these tools is that road safety is central to the development agenda, and it's an accelerator to achieve the global targets. When we have safer roads, we have better accessibility to jobs, to healthcare, to better economy, especially with safe roads that accommodates active modes of travel, like walking and cycling. They will help us reach climate targets and reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and using private vehicles. Because as you may know, the transport sector remains the main accountable sector that is responsible for 23% of global emissions. So basically, when we have safer roads, we will be able to improve climate targets and also the health and well-being of young people and different age groups. Because the research shows that walking plays a crucial role in enhancing mental health and also improving the cardiovascular health. It also enhances social cohesion between communities, because when we give people public spaces that are safe and sustainable, we are building a community where people can connect and thrive on interpersonal level. Next, please. We have also developed another unique tool called the Advocacy and Campaigns Toolkit. It was mainly designed to equip the youth delegates that will attend the World Youth Assembly and the upcoming ministerial meeting on road safety with advocacy and campaigns skills. So basically, with this tool, we can say that yours now is a one-stop shop with all the tools that young people need to start their advocacy journey on road safety and sustainable mobility. And these tools can also be helpful for governments and also for civil society organizations to start working and designing programs for young people. So in this toolkit, young people can find a lot of resources and a lot of content that will help them understand why road safety is one of the most pressing global challenges and why it's relevant to young people. Why should they feel more accountable to advocate for this cause among the many other causes that young people advocate for at the global level? Next, please. So what's in this toolkit? We have, as you can see, many sections that provide key information aiming to build capacities and skills of young people to become strong advocates for our cause. We have included a section to deconstruct common road safety methods. For example, that road safety is a siloed topic, or that road safety is not relevant to young people. So basically, we are providing evidence-based information to respond to these claims and help young people have a better understanding on road safety and why it's relevant to the global challenges and to many other relevant agendas. We have also included detailed analysis and a simplified explanation on policymaking processes and policy analysis phases to basically allow young people start identifying the policy gaps in their countries, in their communities, and run a diagnosis with their colleagues, with their peers at the community level, then take another level to work closely with the city council and the relevant stakeholders to design and implement policies that respond to the policy gaps and the most pressing challenges that they have identified throughout their diagnosis. We also provided a template and many tools that helps young people plan their advocacy actions on the local level. And we've included many tools and tips on strategic communication. For example, how to engage with the relevant stakeholders in your community, how to sustain this engagement, how to engage with the media, the importance of using social media, and basically new techniques to reach the target groups, to educate young people, and also to make this cause stand out among the other causes. So we included some tips on storytelling, how to draft a message in an interesting way, how to use social media trends to get the attention of Gen Z, and so on. So it has like many interesting sections. We also included many useful resources that were created by our partners that can be useful for young delegates. We also included the global status report, the global plan, and links where young people can access Yours Academy modules where they can dive deeper into other relevant topics. Next, please. So how do we want young people to use this toolkit? Basically, we have embedded this tool and also the other tools to be part of the delegates' journey. It's a journey that was designed by the Yours team to ensure that all the delegates that will attend the World Youth Assembly and the Ministerial have the skills and the capacities that they need to advocate for the cause and to basically amplify meaningful youth participation as the one approach that will help us reach the global targets. And basically, we are asking young people to review the toolkit based on their interest and based on their advocacy skills and level. We have provided two versions of this tool. We have one PDF version and another interactive version. So to make it very accessible to young people. So for example, if you are a beginner, you can start your journey from the very beginning. But if you have more advanced skills in advocacy, you can start wherever you want, wherever it's relevant to you, and you can move from one section to another. You can review this toolkit on the coalition's website, claimingourspace.org/resources. And we have something interesting. We've translated the toolkit into Arabic, and it will be available on our website very soon. Next, please. So in the last 2 years and throughout our engagement with our outstanding young delegates, we have led multiple side events at the global level and the regional level as well, where more than 227 young leaders took meaningful part as speakers, as moderators and presenters, where they presented their local actions project and the policy briefs and the other tools, and to amplify mainly youth voices and to call for urgent action on road safety. They also have led many bilateral meetings with decision makers, from ministers to city councils to community leaders, and they have shared policy gaps and presented their work, their movements, their grassroots actions, and demanded, of course, meaningful youth participation through systematic mechanisms. Next, please. I love this slide because here you can see the community that we have reached. So in the numbers that we can see on this slide is the community we reached for the Policymakers Toolkit and the series of policy briefs on road safety and the SDGs. So we have reached more than 194 government representatives, 860 multi-sector stakeholders, and 409 youth leaders and university students. Now, my colleague Molly will tell us about the impact of these tools and also of the Yours programs through a very interesting project that we wrapped up this year. So over to you, Molly.
Thanks, Dana. I hope folks are able to hear me. And I will spend the next 15 minutes or so telling you about the Youth Storytelling Project. But before I do, one of the golden rules of the Yours training and development methodologies is that no one should ever sit still for more than 20 minutes. We have run trainings around the world with young people and have implemented this methodology to make any time we're talking to folks as brain friendly and body friendly as we can. So no need to turn on your screen, but I encourage you to take the next 10 seconds, rolling out your shoulders, stretching. Feel free to stand up if you want. Please do not sit still as we go into the next presentation. I am excited to tell you more about what we've been calling the Youth Storytelling Project. And in fact, I saw that Aggie joined the call as well, who was one of the masterminds in designing this project. So I'm interested in her answers as well. But as part of our mission, Yours works with and for young people to enact road safety and sustainable mobility solutions. And what does it mean to work with and for young people? Not just for, but with. And this is a big paradigm shift in how the traditional road safety field thinks about the role of young people in our projects. So the traditional view might say that when you're designing your road safety projects, it should be all about thinking of young people, well, they're the problem, they're risky drivers, so we need to change their behavior. And we would say, actually, we need to enable their ownership over the problem. And that's how we get that peer-to-peer ripple effect. Often youth are just thought of as vulnerable road users to factor into our programs, and that is an important piece. But we should also be thinking of them as our future decision makers and the people that can change systems and change cultures over time. In the context of program evaluation, there are a lot of difficulties in evaluating youth experiences, and I'm speaking to a group of road safety practitioners and working with vulnerable communities around the world. But traditionally, we have found that when projects are thinking about how to involve youth in their evaluation, there's involvement just at the beginning and involvement just at the end. And we're trying to change this paradigm so that there's engagement throughout the life cycle, and that builds the relationship accountability as well. Furthermore, youth tend not to participate in evaluations in a meaningful way, but are sort of asked about the effects right at the end, maybe through traditional surveys. There's nothing wrong with that. We have all come a long way through evaluation with surveys. But as we work with young people, we have identified this need that they're interested in creative or experimental ways to be involved in the programs that they are a part of, especially on that evaluation piece. Furthermore, the key problem in evaluating youth projects that we found, and I think it will be a lifelong journey for yours to get around this, is that once we are involved in a young person's life, how does that change the trajectory of their interests, of their career fields, of the types of projects that they take on? You know, how do we know if one training that they attended sparked this idea that then led to a big campaign? How do we know if they applied to a master's degree or a PhD based on this journey? So we are always in search of how to understand the longer term effects of our programs on young people. So with that in mind, about 2 years ago, yours partnered with FIA Foundation through the Child Health Initiative to initiate the Youth Storytelling Project. And the two objectives here are, first, to experiment with participatory monitoring and evaluation, or PM&E, as a way to get feedback and specific improvements or recommendations for our own programs. The second objective is also about understanding the long-term impact and the influence on personal and professional development of young people. And we attempted to do this through digital storytelling. Now, when the team did a literature review about the history of storytelling, I think an obvious place to look for is in telling a personal narrative and through artistry. But there is also a long history of digital storytelling in community engagement and campaigns, as well as, and this is the case here, in research studies. And so we're sort of working a little bit at the intersection of all of those here. Our methodology was to engage with young people over 2 years. We started with 14 young people, and there was a bit of drop off, which I'll get to in a little bit, where we finished the project with 10 participants who completed the entire 2-year journey. The key requirements is that they needed to be between 18 and 35 years old. They needed to be members of the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety, and about half of them had joined within the last year, and the other half had been around for a longer term. We also felt it was equitable to offer a small stipend in order to incentivize ongoing participation, but also to thank young people for their time. So let's move on from methodology into learnings. What did we learn over 2 years about young people and youth leadership programs? I'm first going to zoom in just on the focus groups here. So there was sort of a blend of focus group discussions happening every 6 months, and also virtual diaries or video diaries that young people would submit every 3 months. These were combined into sort of combined learnings and evaluated by the yours team. As a result of the focus groups, some of the positive feedback we heard about the effects of yours programs were especially about youth empowerment, feelings of confidence and skills building, especially soft skills, as well as discovery of new resources, different evidence or publications, or even new funding networks or partner networks that they could access. We also, in general, got pretty positive feedback about our trainings, and we run the Yours Academy, which is an e-learning platform. Everything is self-paced on your own time, and we've put a lot of effort into making that truly a youth-friendly way of understanding road safety in the safe system. So I'm going to play a short audio clip from one of our focus groups on this topic.
What about the relevance with the road safety field and what's happening? Do you feel like it's still relevant to you?
Yes, of course, especially the courses that are online. I like how they are presented in a simple manner. That's a say forte of the yours courses with regards to the other online courses. I completed a number of them, and the yours one maybe because they are really targeted to young audience, and they are created, let's say, in a way that keeps you engaged.
Don't worry, there was also plenty of mixed feedback. And these are some of the topics where we heard both positive and negative ways that we have room for improvement. So on the one hand, young people said that they really value building community with other young advocates and learning from those communities through peer-to-peer support. This was also sort of taken sometimes as a negative in that once you've had a taste of community building and comradeship in this work, it never quite feels like enough. And so a key recommendation that we heard was to improve more of that peer-to-peer support and community building as a way of also boosting the morale and the mental health of our participants. One other note here is that the Global Youth Coalition in general operates in English because it is a global youth coalition and we need, one unifying language. In some ways, youth shared that this encouraged them to strengthen their skills in English and confidence in English. In other ways, it's a language barrier. And so we are now starting to address and build up more translated and localized sessions, including like some of the resources that Stephanie and Sana shared about translations. So I'll share another short audio clip from a focus group about how we can better improve peer-to-peer support.
I suggest that as a coalition, have a section where as members, we have a time, probably once or twice in a month, checking up on each other, how people are doing, because I'm probably not alone in all this. And that is what is important for me. But when you listen to other people or when you share the same sentiment with other people, I think you grow as a person and it will help you help others as well.
Now let's turn to the video diary submission. So young people were asked to record, to create 5-minute video diaries every 3 months or so. And this is where we learned a lot about their daily lived realities and local nuances. There are many, many findings you can find in the report, but some key ones that stood out to us is that youth are very aware of tokenism, both about being young people in high-level rooms, as well as around gender inequality. And some of the young women who participated felt quite outnumbered in the transport sector. They expressed a lack of confidence navigating political structures and processes. And also, while they felt they were getting some global support from the Global Youth Coalition, they found that it was very difficult to find those same sorts of structures and communities from local stakeholders. Interestingly, we also got a lot of feedback and learnings on the tactic of video diaries themselves, specifically on the storytelling tactic. So through this tactic, young people in general expressed that they felt more confidence and were better able to express themselves, not just about road safety or their professional interests, although they did see an alignment of how these sorts of tactics around storytelling would play into their projects and advocacy work. They also had to pick up some new skills in video recording, production, and editing, audio editing, music editing. And so young people were able to use those skills in practice. I'll share another short video diary clip where we can understand the daily experience of a young participant from Ethiopia.
Despite the work done so far, there are so many remaining road safety issues that still need a focus, among which making schools safer for the kids is the major one. We have searched plenty of very risky streets for the youths in Addis.
Well, I'll pause there just to say, of course, it's a powerful clip seeing so many children crossing a highway, and indeed the participant had to stop in the middle of the highway to let this group pass. So in that moment, we're kind of thrown into the day-to-day realities of her community, and also I think we can hear in her own words her concern for children in this community. And so through that, we were able to understand a lot more about the experiences and perspectives of the participants for why they were motivated to join the road safety field. So as a reminder, we first wanted to evaluate yours programs, and we also wanted to understand the long-term impact on the professional and personal development of young people. Were these objectives achieved? I would say, well, this is Molly's opinion, not yours opinion, but my personal opinion is that we got super deep, rich, nuanced feedback on objective 2, and I'll have a lot more to work with in understanding the perspective of young people as young advocates. We got limited feedback on yours programs itself, and there are a few reasons why. In general, I would say the focus groups is where we got richer feedback on our specific programs. And in the videos, we saw more broad responses about what's going on in their community and what was top of mind for them at the time. This is because we decided not to set strict themes for the videos. It was supposed to be more of a human-centered design approach where any topic that felt top of mind or personal to those young people, they could respond to. But in the end, this also meant that they weren't necessarily talking just about what they've been up to through the Global Youth Coalition and yours programs. And often it was more about what was happening in their city. So I'm talking to a group of road safety practitioners here. And if I could give you some recommendations if you're considering a similar approach. What did work really well with the video diaries was understanding more about their perspective and their experience that was informing the nuance that we got from the focus groups. And indeed, the focus groups, while more of a traditional tactic, we found yielded richer feedback. However, I would still recommend this, this combined method in order to capture more of a range of experiences from the youth. While the young people were producing 5-minute videos every 3 months, we would actually recommend producing shorter videos more frequently. And some young people found that even producing a 5-minute video was quite a lot to ask. We would, if we could go back, assign some specific themes for each video in order to better respond to and connect the dots to our own programs. And as I mentioned earlier, we had a bit of drop-off in young people who could not finish the 2-year term. So we would recommend to shorten the project duration. Now let's zoom out, not just about young people, but whenever we're working with vulnerable communities, we have some recommendations for your practices in evaluation. So we did find ultimately that this was a good way of engaging with a vulnerable community in a more meaningful way. And in particular, the participants were essentially co-creating our evaluation as it was happening. We found that we got very nuanced understandings of their perspectives and their reality. And in the end, the videos were an important supplement to the focus group findings. Also, because of this 2-year term of the project, it led to strong relationships between yours and with the young participants. So we also increased our own accountability to address the issues that they shared with us, and we began that already. Of course, when working with vulnerable communities, you have to consider, is the technology there? You know, one of the selection biases of this evaluation method is that everyone needed to have a smartphone in order to participate. So you have to consider how that fits into your own evaluation methods. And we did, in the end, provide training and specific technical skills workshops to the young people about video recording and editing. And of course, you have to consider some of the other barriers about language, the length of time that you're working with folks, and if you're able to provide stipends to reimburse their time. There are a lot more findings and quotes and clips that you will have access to if you download the report, Youth Voices in Road Safety. So I'll leave this QR code up for a little bit. Please download and learn more. And thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry, Sonny, we're a little bit over. But I'll throw
No,
it
not
back.
at all. Thank you very much, Molly. Sorry. That is so enriching and so profoundly insightful. Thank you so much for that. I'll just stick on this topic for a second. Can you tell us a little bit more about the lived-in experiences and also the focus group that happened? Were the participants able to communicate with each other as well in a forum stage, or was it just a one-way communication with yours back and forth?
Yes, there was interaction between the participants during the focus groups. Like I mentioned, the default language for all of this was in English, so perhaps this is a little bit part of the selection bias as well. But actually, we also learned that young people showed a strong improvement in their confidence, and we even have some specific quotes where young people were said, through this project, I feel so much more confident with public speaking and working in English, so I can work more internationally. So these are sort of fringe benefits of the project, but they were able to communicate all together. For the videos, they did not collaborate. This was just one person at a time making some sort of mini production about their community, about their experience.
And you mentioned about, the challenges of a few drop-offs, of course, and that happens. And but at the same time, there is it's difficult to evaluate sort of like these youth projects in terms of long-term effects in young people, right? And one of your recommendations is to actually shorten it. I was thinking actually what would be interesting is to see where some of these youth would be in 3 to 5 years' time, right? Whether there has been any influence in terms of their career choices or decided to go on a master's degree or a PhD and into the, safer and sustainable mobility space or anything like that. Has there been anything of an outcome like that from any participants since then?
Yes, two participants shared that it has directly influenced their career path. For example, one of the young people that we were working with in Brazil left his old job during the course of this project and ended up having a new job where he was working more directly in road safety. So it sort of became from a personal passion into more professional. This was also true for a participant in Guatemala. Yeah, I mean, you make an interesting point about more of like a long-term and longitudinal study. I think we found good experiences in asking young people to write a reflective blog or an article for our website about, their own reflections back on their journey. In the case of this project, well, probably if the structure was a little bit different to have more specific video topics, just about our own influence, it might have achieved that goal. We find in general working with this age group of 18 to 35 is when they're going through huge life changes every 2 to 4 years. A lot of them might be going off to university and then off to a grad degree, or they're moving cities. So in some ways it's a little bit difficult to pin any one part of their journey just for us, but we did find some more nuanced information from this project.
You mentioned as well about the challenge of the length, right? Maybe in the age of Instagram stories and TikTok, it would have been easier to condense and make it maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute even, right? And you also mentioned about the theme. Maybe, it could be more pointed, whether it's infrastructure or driver behavior or advocacy. So with that was more an open slather back then. In looking back in hindsight, of course, to give sort of input in terms of the videos, whatever they want.
Exactly. We sort of took the experimental lens of letting young people respond to what was really present for them in the moment. But I think if we were to do it again, I would recommend setting specific themes.
No, it's very interesting to also see a couple of the insights that it's not just about road safety, right? It touches on things like youth issues like loneliness and sense of purpose. And that relates to sort of like a couple of your policy papers that Stefania and Sana, you talked about, right? SDG 3. And at the foundation, we had the privilege of reviewing that with you. Can you tell us a little bit more, Sana and Stefania, on sort of the application and implementation of these SDG briefs, and also your policymakers toolkit and how it's going? I know, we catch up quite a bit, and I know you're going to be trying to systematically input this into cities and countries like Tunisia, Colombia, Indonesia, and Mexico, and that'll be very exciting the next couple of years. Maybe just unpack that a little bit for us.
Sana, do you want to start with the policy brief and then I complete?
Yes, sure. Actually, we found an interesting synergy between the policy briefs and our other program, Local Actions. It's an incubator for youth-led actions where young people identify the most pressing challenge in their community or in their city and try to link it with one of the Sustainable Development Goals. So basically, we made it as a requirement in order to apply for the grant and to be eligible to receive local action support is to review the policy briefs and include the recommendations in their project. So we have many projects that use the policy briefs as local advocacy tools to basically address the policy gaps and local challenges related to development. And one main example that I can provide is a project that was implemented in India. Basically, young people have identified the issue of public spaces being easily contaminated because there was no support from the city council to provide accessible areas for waiting for people. And basically, the local actions group worked on beautifying the area and basically working closely with young people to ensure that people have adequate and accessible spaces where they can use public transportation and where they can, for example, like have a place where they can sit and rest as they wait for the bus or for the local means of transport.
That's very interesting, and I think that relates to just a question from Glinda from Clean Air Asia. Thank you, Glinda. You mentioned about local stakeholders that may not have the opportunities to take actions because local stakeholders like the municipal governments are not as supportive. And Glenda asked that what would you suggest to remedy the situation? And this was on the chat.
Yes, basically what we always, thank you for the question, Glinda. I just try to reply it by message, but we always suggest to young leaders to find some allies that could support the cause at community or city level, but also try to think about collect evidence about the road safety challenge that they're facing daily. For example, if there is no road safety infrastructure in their way to school, so try to collect this evidence, then come back to the stakeholder that say that, no, there is no way, there is no reason, and showcase that, yes, there is a reason, and think about any innovative solution that you could bring up. In the case of road infrastructure, explain that it's important that if you need to go to commute to school, to commute to the university, it's your right to a quality education, to have a safe infrastructure to help you to achieve this right as well. So this is the way that we are always trying to support young leaders to make the connection between the road safety agenda, the climate agenda, the health agenda, collect evidence and knock the door to different alliances, and then convene together to this decision maker, city, municipal council, because together joint efforts and multi-stakeholder partnership is a key. So build alliance, start with the mapping of stakeholder is the first action to build your advocacy journey as a young advocate, and make sure that you have some allies that support us. And in case you don't have any knowledge about legal framework or policy never, you can also find some other partner allies that have this knowledge, and you bring your innovative idea as young people and experts on your life experience, but also on the connection with SDGs.
If I can add to that as well, I think we as organizations working in fields related to road safety and also working for a safer world for young people I think we have some responsibility here too, because if young people are saying we're finding it really hard to break into the network in our local areas, I think all of us and our organizations have the responsibility to proactively be bringing young people in. And one specific example that came up in this youth storytelling project is that a young person works for a road safety NGO, and whenever there's a big crash and the newspapers contact that NGO for a quote, it's always the same older man who will give a quote to the newspaper. And in one of the focus groups, the young person said, like, I could give a quote to a newspaper, but it always seems to fall toward like the established voices. And maybe that's a bit of a silly example, but I think we can sort of take the risk to, and, give young people a shot to be giving quotes to the newspaper, to be giving presentations on large stages. And ultimately, we found that it's no risk at all because young people often rise to the occasion.
And
Right, and that's a very good point on that, Molly. And I think it also comes to sort of like almost the journalist training too, right? To not only just listen to the established voice, as you say, right? It could be more powerful to listen to the victims and to the youth or to the NGOs that are working in the space, rather than say the cookie cutter sound bites you might get from the police or the PWDs, right? Sorry, Stefania, you want to say something?
No, just to complete that, now we are shifting from the global level on advocacy on the local approach. So we are aiming to implement these toolkits that we showcase today on a new project that we started this year. And we are going to find out a participatory mechanism body at city level in Bogota, Guadalajara, and Bandung. So in different regions in the world, and in Tunis, in Tunisia, because we want to provide this kind of skills and support to young people to contribute locally to this space of policy discussion and contribute to policy change related to road safety and sustainable mobility. And now it's the time that we can use all together there was the Next Generation Declaration after the UNJ this year, and it's only a chapter related to meaningful youth engagement, SDGs, and also the right to live in a healthy and sustainable city. It is almost really connected to road safety and sustainable mobility. So at global level, we should use also this to advocate not only in preparation for the ministerial, but for the years to come, to try to move to this global framework and also instrument to advocate at policy change at local level and grassroots level. So whenever we spoke to decision makers, city council, we can say, okay, you have signed up this UNGA final declaration. So this is like your voluntary target to support, and we are here to help you. So try to use this kind of different UNGA resolution as well when you are trying to reach out to decision makers, because it's something really useful and help you to find then a local policy gap as well.
Stefania, how would you approach that from, say, the distinction between at the national, federal level, and then the subnational level? There's two different things, right? I mean, we talked about, for example, city of Tunis or Bandung, right? But then you talk about the national government, and we talked about Bapanas, which is the planning division in Indonesia, or Bina Marga, and this is in charge of 230 million people, 18,000 islands. How would you go about into systematically breaking down or getting into into the weed of things with these two very, very different government levels?
What we suggest inside the Advocacy and Campaigns Toolkit to young leaders is try to analyze the context and see where is the power there. Who is, the National Road Safety Agency lead that have the investment and the power by the law that is acting, and try to get in touch with them and explain your idea on how to contribute it, because its context is completely different. You are right, Sunny. So we have federal, so we have national law, subnational law. So we must need to try in the way to surface these different levels, and together with Alliance, find the first steps to get going and opening the conversation. So let's say that the global framework that we have, all the UN resolution, the global plan and the targets are a global framework that we must use to do advocacy at global level, but we can use at local level as well, because we just say you signed up, you are promoted this kind of UN resolution. So we would love to work with you and support the implementation of the global plan. But it's important that you analyze and mapping all stakeholders and analyze and mapping all the policy that are in place or the legislative framework in place at national and subnational level, because there you understand who is the department in charge of that and how you could contribute. Sometimes we have been some cases where there is the Minister of Interior in charge of it, and other country is the Minister of Infrastructure, or other it's the Minister of Health. So we have been facing different scenario because the legislative framework is completely different. Democracies are around the world different. So understand the government, how it's work, it's the first steps also to try to dive on advocacy efforts and make the linkage to the global and scale down to the local level.
Very good. Yeah, mapping and scanning is definitely the first part of that process. And I would also compound that message by, obviously having coalitions like the ones we have with Child Health Initiative, or the partners we have with FIA Foundation, and of course you guys also have a breadth of sort of like ambassadors and contacts on the ground, which can help you navigate through that, right? And then also hopefully be able to sort of lend their contacts and also get into even just coffee chats and informal meetings to sort of map out who would be the best solution and how to sort of get the right contacts for that. And that's really important. So I'd recommend our participants here as well. Molly and I listed out the countries there. And obviously, it's nothing works without us sort of helping out each other. So if there is any, programs, projects that you have on the ground in Tunisia, Colombia, Indonesia, Mexico, and even others that aligns with yours advocacy on the ground, that would really help. So do get in contact with the team and also myself, and we would be able to at least be able to assist them on the ground as they go through this journey. With 5 minutes left, and if there's any other questions from the floor, please raise your hands up or put it on the chat. But if not, then maybe ladies, if you can give a quick preview or what we can expect in Marrakesh.
I can go first. I won't speak about the in-depth government commitment strategy that these colleagues have been working on, but in advance of the ministerial conference, if I may brag, we have been selected by the WHO to advise on the end-to-end youth engagement strategy. So yes, I will brag a little bit. And this has been building over time across a few ministerials and slowly building up the youth presence at these large-scale events. And so we see it as a huge sign that the WHO is on board of really following through on youth as a named stakeholder in the global plan. And we can't forget that youth are a named stakeholder there. So at the ministerial, we are working with a group of young people to be delegates at the ministerial itself and have opportunities to speak and join panels and also have face-to-face bilateral meetings with their own government representatives. And in addition, we are hosting the World Youth Assembly for Road Safety. This will be an official site event happening right before the ministerial. We will be gathering around 200 young people who are already trained and passionate road safety advocates to even build that capacity higher and action plan together across regions how to make this happen. We will also, I think Liz is still in the call, and we've been working with the Global Alliance on thinking through the Commit to Life Zone, and we are supporting sort of an organization of young people to do a sunset cycle ride, which will be sort of a stunt to get attention from ministerial leaders, and also just bring attention to what it is to ride a bicycle around Marrakesh for a little bit. So we hope that will spark some interesting conversations.
I think it will. A sunset cycle. I'm in. Count me in. I'm not youth, but I'll be there. That sounds good. And I think my boss Saul has also committed to opening the keynote on that Saturday. So thank you for the invitation. With that, just a quick plug as well. If anyone will miss this, that there's also a LinkedIn group for all the previous COPs. So I'll upload this in due course as well. And before the year ends, I'd like to also have a year wrap up for the CHI community, which of course you're more welcome to come. And we highlight sort of like a few milestones, outcomes, and achievements that a lot of our partners have done. So I'll send that invite for next month in December. I can't believe it's nearly the end of the year. But with that, we're bang on time. I'd like to thank you, Molly, Sana, Stefania, for your time, and thank you so much for the very comprehensive and professional presentation and this dialogue. And we bring this to a close. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Sunny, and everyone. Stay in touch.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Have a good remaining day.